What's up, everyone? Thralls of Metal back again. I am Shredlord.
Necrotic Nick.
And we are here to bring you yet another excellent album review. This time we are going to peruse over the latest comeback album from OG thrash legends Dark Angel. Yes, Gene Hoglan's project before Gene Hoglan played
with every
other band in metal. Yes. This album is called Extinction Level Event, and this was a highly anticipated comeback album.
Yes. I mean, all right. This comeback's been kind of like a long time coming, like multiple attempts for this band, and I'll get into that in a little bit. First off, this also comes out on the 5th of September on Reversed Records. This band formed in 1983 in California. Now, this band, again, has performed multiple times. I believe they tried in 1999, and I think that was with their vocalist Don Dottie, who was on Darkness Ascends, which is heralded as probably like one of their most popular albums. That didn't work, and then I believe in 2013, they've been reunited since, but even that reunion has come with a lot of pitfalls and such. Lineup changes, and sadly, a death, the passing of Jim Durkin, who was, one of the founding members and one of the principal songwriters. He sadly passed in 2023, and finally, after years of saying, hey, we're going to get this going, we have a new album. Gene, I'm pretty sure he left Testament to work on this. And probably, some other projects too, because Gene's a very busy man. So this is their 5th album overall, and first one since 1991's Time Does Not Heal. Their original run of albums are pretty damn solid. I was a big fan of, Darkness Ascends, and especially Leave Scars. I think that's honestly kind of my favorite. And this has a bulk of the lineup from Leave Scars. Of course, you have Gene Hoglan on drums, Ron Reinhardt on vocals, Eric Meyer on guitars, Mike Gonzalez on bass, and to replace the departed Jim Durkin, we have Laura Christine, who is Gene Hoglan's wife. So, this has been something I've been, initially kind of eager when I heard about it, and then we had 2 singles come out. The title track and Circular Firing Squad, those have both been out for months now. And I'll be honest, the reception for those singles has been about as warm as the reception for the really shitty AI artwork that, you can see in front of you for this album cover. I wanted to give this a chance. Comebacks are tricky, especially after a long time away. But this one, all right, it's definitely got some issues.
So before we really dive into this album, I feel like what we need to do first is address the positive things about this album. And with that being said, the first positive that I can say about this album is Gene Hoglan is one of the masters of metal drumming. And anytime you get him on an album, you know that you have some solid-ass drum work and a guy who is not going to make any mistakes. They do not call him the Atomic Clock for no reason. So yeah, there's Gene. And then I like the fact that it's a thrash album, and I might also like the fact that it's an older style thrash album. What things did you like about it?
Well, all right. It's a thrash album. I feel like you said that. It's fast. It's very thrashy. I feel like I'm just making statements as to what it is rather than my opinion on it. And, all right. I was one of those people that would put off but the first 2 singles. It was like, man. Because, I've been listening to this band for years. And I think their older works, they almost kind of work as like a stepping stone between thrash and death metal. Like, they played a very intense style of thrash metal, much like bands like Devastation, Morbid Saint, Demolition Hammer. Like, it was almost death thrash. This is just a straight up thrash album, and this is honestly about as no frills as it gets. Like, honestly, I wouldn't even identify this as like Dark Angel if I didn't know it was Dark Angel. Like, this just kind of sounds like any older thrash band. The songs are fast, loads of machine gun riffs. They have like some intensity to them, but they all kind of feel fiercely dated. And I'll be honest, like, in terms of production too, like, this doesn't sound like a grand comeback. Honestly, this kind of sounds a little like demo-ish. And I get, like, trying to make it sound a little bit more raw and such, but I feel like this mix is just off.
Yeah, the mix, I feel like, missed the mark for me. It would have been better had the guitars had a little bit less grit and rawness to them and a little bit more tightness. And while the riffs were fast and aplenty, they also were only aplenty throughout the songs. And what I mean by that is inside each song, there was only a few riffs. And there was plenty of times throughout those songs where a good riff was continued way too long. Now, the best example of this would be Woke Up to Blood, which does have a nice little tribal, slinky guitar kind of riff that starts, but once again, once you've heard it for about 10 seconds, they don't give you much else in the song, so it gets a little bit stale. But the part I'm referring to is there's this tight little syncopation groove, and it started to feel like, okay, we were going somewhere here. This had a little bit more character. It didn't feel so stock. But anything original like that, they seemed to kind of just beat it to death and didn't offer much variety anywhere else.
Yeah, like, all right, this album is 49 minutes long, and there's not 49 minutes worth of, like, riff ideas on here. A lot of the riffs on here, whether it be the high pace, like more throttling tracks like Apex Predator or Atavistic, they feel drawn out. They hammer on these riffs and they don't really like build on them much. Like you don't get a lot of like big riff harmonies or anything like that. You know, there are spots of atmosphere. They are odd. I don't know, like you get these like weird like synth effects, like synth choirs.
Synth choir, yeah, it's an odd thing.
It doesn't fit.
And I feel like let's just finally address the biggest elephant in the room. The biggest gripe about this album is the vocals by far. These vocals do not really blend, mesh, or do this album justice at all, for the fact that his aggressive voice sounds strained, like he's really straining to get any kind of power behind his voice. It just kind of sounds weak and flat. And when he does try to do more melodic, tuneful things, he finds himself running in and out of key and just not sounding good at all. It's laughable at times. It's literally Chris Barnes, 6 Feet Under, bad. And it was so hard to get past that song after song after song, especially when you already didn't feel like the songs had much ground to stand on, so to speak, and were just kind of default and generic. There was a time we were listening to this album, and I said to Nick, you know, this almost sounds like a local band could have written this. That's how much originality it lacked at times, and it was really surprising to have that happen, especially from such a seasoned band.
Yeah, and I mean, you couple that with, again, like the production on here, and again, like the fact that the songs are very repetitive. Yeah, like this was almost kind of like a perfect storm of like a flat comeback. And again, comebacks are tricky. Generally, there's like a couple of schools of thought when it comes down to like comebacks. You play it safe. You kind of go back to like the sound that the fans want, 100%. Like whatever their favorite album was, you kind of try to replicate that. Or you come back with something kind of fresh and new and kind of push in a different direction, both of which are gambles. This one does neither, honestly. Like this doesn't really sound like, Dark Angel from the past. And this doesn't sound like a new direction because this sounds just like very stock thrash. And the vocals, even when this has like some solid riffs and solid energy to it, like, Scarface a Room, which is the dumbest fucking song title on here. They turned Scarface into a fucking verb. Whatever.
We don't recommend it.
We don't recommend it. But if I was going to recommend a song on here, that would probably be it. It's got a little bit more urgency to it, some fun syncopated gallops, good machine gun riffs. Even then, the vocals come in and just kind of derail me from like completely liking it, because Ron's delivery on here is just it's bad. And I'll be the first to say, like, vocals have never been like the strong suit with Dark Angel. It's never been like the thing that like, oh man, that's why I listen to Dark Angel. I listen to Dark Angel because they're fast and insane. The vocals were generally, okay, like they were just, decent thrash metal vocals. This doesn't even really hit that mark. They sound just off key. And I feel like he's trying too hard in a lot of spots. Like, there's a range where I think he sounds okay. Decent. But he pushes well beyond there. Like, these deep vocals on here, like on Circular Firing Squad, they're comically bad. It's like someone trying to do like a Disney villain or something like that. It's not, or ballsy and tough. It just sounds off. There's also moments where he tries to sing and, hits a couple of vibratos and they're not really in key. But then again, like, he kind of follows his own meter on here. And it gets worse when this band slows down. Because there's some, like, slower, like, oh god, man, it's almost like 90s groove metal songs, and not like the good kind. Like, I'm not comparing this to Pantera or Prong or any band like that. I'm comparing this to like really bad Propane songs. Sea of Heads, which is another really
amazing title. Amazing title.
So stupid. Whatever. It sounds like old school, like, groove metal, and it sounds like groove metal from a band that wasn't groove metal initially. Like, this is like, the one where they're trying to adapt the times and such. Like, this was a death metal band or a thrash metal band. It's like, no, we can do this shit. And it's super repetitive. It kind of rocks on the same riffs. The chorus never hits. The verses just feel off and cringy, and just nothing fucking works on it.
Another opportunity where I felt like this album had a chance to kind of create more of an identity was with the lead guitar work. And when it came to the lead guitar work, it was a very repetitive and basic approach. And it was the Kerry King approach. Let's just hit a bunch of chromatic notes, slam the whammy bar, and hope for the best. Now, I can tell by listening to this guitar player that they do have some decent technique. I'm hearing some sweeps in there, and it sounds clean and everything. But even with that kind of talent, they still choose, for most of the album, there's times where the guitar will have some, technical proficiency while executing the lead. But even then, there was no kind of like memorable moments or any moments that made you go, man, that sounded really cool. It was just kind of in and out in a flash. And I felt like that was a really big opportunity loss, because with as basic as a lot of these songs were, adding something as simple as maybe a nice guitar harmony or a solo that maybe kind of mimicked the vocal line or something to give it a little bit more depth really could have improved this album. But they, once again, just kind of chose to go the Kerry King route and just close your eyes and play whatever notes your fingers hit and hope it sounds good.
Yeah, like, all this is just kind of in, like, this very small sandbox to kind of play in. The riffs, granted, like, there are some solid riffs on here and they're played very intensely, but after a while, with, like, nothing else kind of on top of them, like, a good harmonized, riff or anything like that, or like a lead melody, or like a solo that stands out, or, God forbid, a vocal fucking hook, they get flat. They get boring after a while. And there are some songs in here where they kind of experiment a little bit, like E Pluribus Nemo, whatever that is.
It didn't really fit the album, to be honest.
No, this one sounded like a weird industrial track. Like, honestly, it sounded like, what could have been like a demo from, like, I don't know, early Strapping Young Lad. It has like that more mechanical sound, like kind of Fear Factory-ish. Like, it's slower. It's got like this, syncopated breakdown. And, this breakdown really exposes the vocals on here, which, generally when they're playing fast and furious and it's just machine gun chugs, occasionally Ron's vocals kind of get a little bit buried and like, oh, well, shucks. But even the experimentation on here, like, it doesn't really, like, open this album up. Again, I barely even, like, identify this as, like, Dark Angel. Like, this doesn't sound like their old stuff. And that's on, like, a songwriting standpoint, too. Like, their old songs were dynamic. They were fast. They were intense. They sounded evil. These, they just kind of sound stock. And, again, like, any moment where I feel like they could, like, get something out of them, they are hampered by the vocals. The vocals on this entire thing are bad. There's really not like a spot in here where I thought the vocals were like good. Like, this vocal performance was like listening to like Glenn Danzig and his fucking death throes. Like, if my windows were open, I'm reasonably sure all the dogs would have started barking in the neighborhood if they heard these vocals. Either that or fucking raccoons would show up at my back doorstep because they thought I had some fucking trash for them. And, well,
you might.
I kind of did. Again, like, I wanted this to be good. I really did. The nicest thing, again, we said was about Gene's performance. But here's the thing. Like, this is a performance I think he could do in his sleep. Like, he's just that good. But you can just tell there's just not a lot of creativity on here. And, like, I feel like these songs were kind of like par baked. Like, you know, maybe they just needed a little bit more in terms of like working on them to kind of fine tune them, spice them up. Like, dude, there's barely like salt and pepper in this fucking thing. And again, I know that they were dealt like a serious blow with Durkin's death. That fucking sucks. And I know that he contributed on the songwriting here, and, you know, not trying to like fucking, you know, shit all over his work here. But I feel like maybe this was rushed or something. Like, I know they managed to get like a pretty solid producer in here, or at least someone to mix it. Like, this was executive produced by Gene, but Mike Frazier, who's worked with bands like Annihilator, COC, Metallica, hell, even Strapping Young Lad. That's a pretty solid resume. But again, I feel like a lot of this was just hurried. I don't know why either. Like, I think this probably could have waited another year.
So overall, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. I really wanted to give it a little bit lower, but it's not that there's bad things on it besides the vocals. The vocals are bad. Let's call a spade a spade. But yes, it was flat, and I did not think this album would sound like this. And I was kind of hoping that those singles were maybe just a flavor of one of many flavors on this album, but it turns out that was just one flavor, and it was very salty.
Scoop of chocolate, scoop of vanilla.
Yeah, 2 out of 5. Would not recommend.
Man, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm at a 1.5. I'm pretty disappointed by this. Again, like, comebacks are tricky. We've heard a lot of killer comeback albums, you know, over the years. Like, the last Morbid Saint album, fantastic. Like, almost on par with, like, their original work. That's awesome. And, you know, I feel like often, you know, that's the case. Like, you do get a lot of killer comeback albums, but sometimes you get some flat-out duds, and this is definitely a dud. There really isn't much on here that I, like, thoroughly enjoyed. You know, yeah, it's got a lot of the stock tropes of thrash that I like, but it's executed in such a way where it's bland. Like, there's just nothing to it. Like, this feels like a very tired band that, you know, wasn't all in on this in terms of like delivering, you know, something that had like, you know, the original fury, the original fire behind it. The production's rough. Guitar work is decent, but again, kind of flat, like a lot of repetitive riffs, a lot of drawn out songs. No way this needed to be 49 minutes. And the vocals, man, like, the vocal performance on here is rough. It's recorded pretty poorly too, like, it's very dry. You do get some occasional like weird synthy effects to kind of harmonize with them, but honestly it only makes it fucking worse. Yeah, no, I'm like severely let down by this album, and I was kind of hoping that, you know, maybe those first 2 singles were the worst ones on the album, and I was wrong. It got worse as I listened to it. And, you know, I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense for a band to release their worst singles to kind of hype up the, you know, songs. But I don't know. I mean, I know the reception for them was poor. They blocked comments for a little while in those singles, I think. That told me enough. That, and, you know, I heard them. But, yeah, if you're a fan of Slayer, like, you know, Creator, and just thrash, like, if you're just a fan of thrash and you want to hear thrash album, this is a thrash album. You can listen to it. I recommend their earlier work, like Go Back, Jam Darkness Ascends, Leave Scars, Time Heals Nothing. Go back and jam those. This is not on that same level at all, but, you know, I mean, I suppose you can still check it out. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you were new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents, and Alone Perk is doing a members-only live stream, which, who knows, by the time you see this, you might have actually seen a members-only live stream that we finally got around to doing. Anyway, memberships are the main way to support the channel, and there's a join button down there for you to just mosh your way on over to, well, listening to a better thrash album than this.
Do the 2-beer shimmy through the crowd. 2-beer shimmy.
That's never worked. You always lose beer.
Yeah, but you're going to lose beer anyway, unless
you guzzle it at the bar.
Yeah, boy. That's right. That's right. Don't be a pansy. You're not there to sip on it. You're there to drink it. All right, Bobby. Let's get to the most important part of this ending. Thanking you guys, the viewers. Thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to watch our content, to leave your comments, to give your opinions, and to interact with us, because you guys are what makes the Thrall world go round.
That is true. This is our planet, right?
Planet Thralls, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, our own little corner of the universe.
Well, that's awesome. You guys are fucking welcome to it because you guys are absolutely incredible. Tons of content coming in the future. So one more big thank you because you guys are absolutely awesome. And we will catch you later.
Death by Snoo Snoo.